Alright, so now we are going to talk about mucormycosis. Okay, now this is a pathology class, that's why we are going to discuss only about the fungus and all these things. We are not going to talk about in details about amphotericin B. Okay, we will be talking about the drugs in pharmacology classes. Okay, now listen. So when we are talking about mucormycosis, okay, whenever we are talking about mucormycosis, the first point we need to understand is this, that mucormycosis is actually a sub-term under the broader term called zygomycosis. Okay, zygomycosis is actually the broader term under which mucormycosis comes. Okay, and another term which comes under zygomycosis is actually entomophthoraco mycosis, entomophthoracomycosis and mucormycosis. Now, what is the basic difference between these two? Actually, the basic difference is this: they are produced by different kinds of species. Okay. Now, mucormycosis is actually produced by the species Rhizopus, Rhizomucor, Cunning, Hemela, etc. Okay, and entomophthoracomycosis is actually produced by Conidiobolus and Basidiolus. Okay, clear? So these are the two basic things. Now listen. The most prevalent species which causes mucormycosis is Rhizopus oryzae. Okay, Rhizopus oryzae are the most prevalent species which causes mucormycosis. Okay, not zygomycosis. Remember this. Okay. Now, a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that Rhizopus oryzae actually looks like this, and you have, I think, read in class 11-12 that this is how actually a Rhizopus looks like. Now, can you tell me that where can you find Rhizopus oryzae? Okay, where can you find Rhizopus oryzae? Rhizopus oryzae is present everywhere. Remember this. Rhizopus oryzae is present everywhere. That means their spores are omnipresent. And these spores are present here. Okay. During favorable condition, this particular thing bursts and these spores come out. Okay. Now listen. A very interesting point you need to understand here is this. Rhizopus oryzae is present in decaying vegetables, fruits, and also in cow dung. Okay, a very interesting point you need to understand. Okay, is also present in cow dung and all these things. Now, one of the most important point we need to understand here is this, that Rhizopus oryzae, as these are present in you don't know that when your particular food items have got stale. So that means Rhizopus oryzae can be present anywhere in your house. Okay, but why you are not affected, or why you are not having this disease? Because mucormycosis is only seen in those persons who are immunocompromised, who are the affected individuals. If I talk about this individuals, then number one will be immune compromised. Okay, that means those persons who have undergone surgery, And that's why they are taking some immune suppressive drugs, like those who have undergone, some transplantation surgeries. Second point we need to understand is this: those persons who are recovering from any diseases, okay, recovering from any diseases. Second point, okay. Second individuals are those who have uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. Okay, uncontrolled diabetes mellitus. Okay, and the third one is persons who are taking for a long time deferoxamine. Now this drug is usually given to those who undergo a lot of blood transfusion because of some problem in their blood or in their hematologic tissues. Clear? And therefore they undergo a lot of transfusion. Okay, like in thalassemia, those patients actually undergo a lot of transfusion cycles, and therefore this particular deferoxamine, okay, deferoxamine, this particular drug should be given to those persons because this drug chelates iron, therefore it relieves you of excess iron accumulation in your body. Clear? Okay, that's the thing we need to understand here. So those persons who are on this drug for a long time, they also have they are also susceptible individuals actually. Clear? Now a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that mucormycosis is actually a vascular. Mucormycosis actually is detectable. Actually in the first stages you cannot detect it. Why? Because in the first stages it shows usual symptoms like suppose if it first affects, okay, your nose and paranasal sinuses, then the usual symptoms will be low grade fever, irritation and all these things. But when your nasal discharge starts and you are bleeding, then doctor suspects something else. Okay. Now a very interesting point you need to understand here is this, that mucormycosis actually invades your vascular system. Clear? It's a vascular system disease. Now why? Because when these hyphae, these are called hyphae. Now a very interesting point you need to understand is this: hyphae in case of rhizopus, these hyphae are rarely septate. What are septate and aseptate hyphae? Suppose this is the hyphae, okay, and if it has got borders, then that means this is septate hyphae. Okay, but if there is no border, then it is called aseptate hyphae. Okay, clear? So this is the difference between septate and aseptate hyphae. But in case of Rhizopus oryzae, both septate and aseptate hyphae are present, but rarely it is septate. That means in some species, in some organisms, septate hyphae has been seen, but in most of the cases, aseptate hyphae was present. Clear? Now when this hyphae actually invades vascular system, then you can actually detect this fungus. Okay, because your doctor then will be talking about MRI, CT scan. We will talk about that, MRI, CT scan, or any other things, so that they can detect what type of fungus is this. And because mucormycosis is a mixed fungal infection in most of the cases. Okay, in 80% of the cases, mucormycosis is occurring due to Rhizopus, but other species are also there. Clear? Now what is the diagnosis for mucormycosis, right? Now listen with all your attention. To detect or to diagnose mucormycosis, first you need to understand that where this problem is occurring. Suppose a person is having an infection in the lungs. Okay, clear? And suppose there is another person who is having problem in the nasal and perinasal areas. Okay, and there is another person who is having a problem in the brain. Okay, now you need to understand a very basic thing. Listen with all your attention. You can diagnose mucormycosis by the help of three things, that is MRI, CT scan, biopsy. So there are three ways by which you can detect mucormycosis. Now listen with all your attention. If the infection is in the nasal and perinasal area, then CT scan is the best option. Okay, CT scan is the best option. If the problem is in the frontal lobe, here is your frontal lobe. Okay, here is your frontal lobe. Okay, then MRI will be your best option. Clear? MRI will be your best option. And when there is a problem in the lungs, then the best option will be biopsy. That is, you take some of the tissue from your lungs, patient's lung, and you try to identify the fungal hyphae. Okay, now listen with all your attention. Can you tell me in which of the following scenarios the disease is actually, fatal? The answer is this. When frontal lobe is affected by this particular, fungus, frontal lobe and carotid artery, what happens is this. That when this frontal lobe and carotid artery are affected by this particular fungal hyphae, then what happens is this. Patient goes to coma and dies after some time or some days. Clear? This is the basic thing we need to understand. So based on where the symptoms are occurring and where it is now and where the symptoms are severe, we will have to detect using these three things. Clear? Okay. CT scan is very much useful when there is a nasal and perinasal area blockage, and CT scan is specifically used in case if you want to have some necrotic tissue to be removed from these areas. Okay, because in mucormycosis necrotic tissues are produced and you will have to remove maybe so that the patient is relieved. When from nasal and perinasal area the infection goes to the brain, then this is called rhinocerebral mucormycosis, and this is actually fatal. This condition is actually fatal. Okay, this condition is actually fatal. People die because of this rhinocerebral mucormycosis. You have seen that in mucormycosis, people are actually blinded. Why? People are becoming blind because of this mucormycosis. Fungal invasion of ophthalmic artery leads to blindness in patients with mucormycosis. Clear? Okay. Now, what is the treatment? What is the treatment for mucormycosis? Okay. Now listen. In fungal infections, azole group, the compound having azole group are of importance, but mucormycosis cannot be controlled using azoles. Azoles have no effect, and therefore we have to go for classical drug, that is amphotericin B. Okay, amphotericin B. We will have a separate class on amphotericin B when we will be talking about the pharmacology, okay, of amphotericin B. Don't worry. But for the time being, you must understand that every fungus, suppose this is a fungus, okay, every fungal cell wall is made up of ergosterol. It's an important component of fungal cell wall. Okay, why it is called ergosterol? Why it is called ergosterol? This is because of the fact that it has come from the word cholesterol, and ergot means actually fungus, and therefore it is, as it is found only in fungus, therefore it is called ergosterol. Now listen, amphotericin B actually binds with this ergosterol. They they don't bind with ergosterol. Actually ergosterol helps in accumulation of amphotericin B, and when they accumulate, when this amphotericin B accumulates and with together with ergosterol, then what happens is this amphotericin B actually creates a channel, and through this channel actually sodium, potassium will now escape from the fungal cell, and therefore fungus will die because essential ions are going out of its body. Clear? This is how the fungus dies. So this is the role of amphotericin B. Obviously it's a very lucid statement, don't worry. Actually there has been a paper which says that there has been a actually experimental setup which says that amphotericin B actually does not work like this. They actually form series of, they actually sit in a series and then they start working like this. But there is a controversy with respect to this, and we will be talking about that, these two trials, when we will be talking about amphotericin B in details. Okay, clear? So now you know that what is the treatment of amphotericin B. Now listen, what is the dosage? What is the dosage? Okay, now listen, amphotericin B in the market is present as a deoxycholate formation, deoxycholate preparation. Okay, now listen, 1 to 1.5 milligram per kg of body weight, this is the dosage. Okay, now in the market you will get 50 milligram injection. Why? Because on an average many people weigh on an average around 50 kgs, therefore you will get 50 milligram of injection in the market. Now a very interesting point you need to understand is this is to be continued for 10 to 12 weeks, and these are the most painstaking 12 weeks for any patient, because amphotericin B is loaded with many side effects, have many side effects. This is the first thing you need to understand. They are loaded with side effects, like even many side effects like clotting. This is the most important side effect which you should consider if a person is having mucormycosis and is also on high pressure drugs, that is he or she is having high pressure. Okay, that is hypertension. If he or she is a hypertensive patient, therefore you must consider some other methods before you start administering amphotericin B if the patient's condition is not worsening. Clear? Okay, a very interesting point you need to understand. Rhizopus oryzae is very difficult to grow in a lab situation from a tissue sample, but when you have successfully grown Rhizopus oryzae, it will grow in normal room temperature. Okay, it will grow in normal room temperature, nothing else. It will grow in normal room temperature. Clear? Okay, and it is ubiquitous in nature. I have already said that. That means suppose if I tell you now that whether you should be very much cautious about mucormycosis because it is prevalent in India right now. Okay, actually in the media, not in the actual scenario, but do you think that you should be cautious? My answer is simply no, because this is because of the fact that mucormycosis has been seen only in those patients who are immune compromised, who are having some underlying diseases like diabetes, because this hyphae actually invades the blood and they take the nutrition from the blood, and their nutrition is glucose. So if you have higher concentration of glucose, this particular fungus will grow more. Clear? Which is occurring in the diabetes mellitus patients having low insulin. Clear? But if you have properly managed diabetes mellitus, then probably you will get over this. Okay, and amphotericin B is actually not a solution, because I must say that amphotericin B should be administered through a vein, and this is actually very much painful. Okay, for 10 to 12 weeks. Okay, you are keeping a patient on high doses of amphotericin B. That means there is a chance of clotting, there is a chance of nausea, dizziness, and many other things. You can actually Google the side effects of amphotericin B. Clear? Now, why we use amphotericin B? Because amphotericin B is one of those antifungal agent which has shown a minimum drug resistance towards that fungus. That means fungus actually never causes a drug resistance. That means amphotericin B is such an antifungal agent which have a minimum drug resistance capacity. That's why it is used till now. Clear? So suppose if your patient is okay and you don't want to start amphotericin B, and you have seen that there is not much infection, then two things. Suppose he or she is an immunosuppressive person, that means he is taking immunosuppressive drugs, then the first thing is this: stop immunosuppressive drugs. Immunosuppressive drugs. This is the first thing. And the second thing we must understand is this: that diabetes mellitus should be controlled. These are the two steps you must consider before administering amphotericin B. Because in most of the cases, if these two are controlled, then probably this disease won't go farther. But listen with all your attention. Mucormycosis in the digestive tract, okay, and in the lungs are always fatal for these patients who are on immunosuppressive. So today up to this, okay. So wise use of immunosuppressive drugs as well as corticosteroids specifically will help in coming out of this situation which is prevalent in India right now with respect to mucormycosis. Okay, so this is a short introduction about mucormycosis. Obviously there are many details, we will not go into that. Okay, and we will talking about amphotericin B and its sources, streptomyces and all this in our in our pharmacology class. Okay.